We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? I'm Tyler, and this is the Glory UGA podcast, brought to you by our great friends at MyBookie. Make sure to check them out for all your betting needs this college football season. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel right now for more content designed for the most die-hard Georgia fans by die-hard Georgia fans. Like, comment, all that great stuff. But most importantly, make sure to check out the Glory UGA podcast wherever you get your podcasts for a whole lot more coverage of Georgia football. We run 4 episodes a week on the audio side of things during the college football season, so you don't want to miss any of that content. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into today's show. And let me just rip the Band-Aid right off. Let's get right to the point here today on the show. Georgia has some issues right now. We all know that. You don't really need me to tell you that. It's nothing new. We've seen it week in and week out, really all year long. If you're asking me, it goes all the way back to week 1, where we started to see traces of the issues that are now patently obvious for all of us out there. Now, no one, after that 31-point win over Clemson, was ready to admit it then, but I sat right here on this very show after that Clemson win and said, hey man, yeah, we won, and that's great. We did a lot of really good things, and this team looks like it's going to have a chance to do something this year, but there are also some signs that maybe Carson Beck wasn't going to play at the level that he played a year ago. You saw in week 1 against Clemson, him miss multiple, not one, but at least 2 touchdown throws, in my opinion. In the first half, both in the first half, I think one was late in the first quarter, maybe early second quarter. There was an RPO to Colby Young. Yeah, that guy that was on our team at that time. RPO to Colby Young right there in the red zone. He overthrows him a little bit, but he overthrows him. If he puts the ball on Colby Young, it's a walk-in touchdown, a game that was very tight in the first half. At that point, we didn't know how that game was going to turn out. I was sitting there in the stands saying, oh my God, how do you miss that throw? That's not very Carson Beck-like. It was honestly alarming to me, because that's one of the things that made Carson Beck so good last year, is that he was lethally accurate, especially in that short to intermediate range. And then later in the first half, closer to halftime, you have Dominic Lovett streaking across the middle of the field. If Carson Beck puts it on his upfield shoulder, he turns the corner, and I think he walks in the touchdown. I was sitting right there where that play was, but he puts it on his back shoulder. He can't make a play on the football. At the end of the day, we end up winning by 31 points, so who cares? We overlooked that, right? But I'm looking at him and saying, man, all right, yeah, we won, but we got a tough schedule. We got some tough teams to play down the road. Carson's got to be better. But even then, I wasn't freaking out. I was just saying, hey, Carson was not as sharp as we saw him certainly at the end of last year. So we saw traces of what was to come in week 1 against Clemson. But then we go to Lexington, and man, do we struggle against Kentucky. I was also there, man. I was losing my mind, almost had multiple heart attacks, almost went to cardiac arrest in that stadium inside Kroger Field. Struggled big time. But we do find a way to pull out a 1-point victory. And after that game, it was really kind of a sigh of relief. We all took a deep breath collectively. We're like, all right, that's tough, but hey, man, survive in advance. That was the mantra of the week, right? Survive in advance. You go to the bye week, and you get ready for Alabama, and you say, oh, Kirby Smart's awesome coming off a bye week. We're going to be all right when we go to Alabama. Now we got the players' full attention. I was saying that here on the show. The excuses were plentiful. I mean, Kentucky, hey, they're actually pretty good, right? We thought that at the time. Again, I said that at the time. Then they go and beat Ole Miss on the road the following week, which is something that we were not, 2 weeks after that, which is something that we were not able to do, obviously, last week. It's a tough place to play. We always have issues there. Night game, SEC, road environment. And hey, it's still early in the year. We have a lot of new pieces offensively. We're still trying to figure things out. So there were a lot of excuses. And we're like, all right, it's fine. We're going to recover after the bye week. We're heading to Alabama, and we'll be good there. But then we go to Alabama, and we all know how that first half went. Absolutely disastrous. But then you talk yourself into thinking, it's okay. We're going to be all right. It's just one game, right? It's a new era in the college football playoff with 12 teams. And we were awesome in the second half. Terrible in the first half. But hey, who else in the country would mount a comeback like that against Alabama on the road at night in that primetime setting, down 28-0 to the point where you take the lead and then almost pull off the seemingly impossible comeback win over Alabama, which we weren't able to do. We fell short, but you came away from that game frustrated. Yes, we lost the first half, unacceptable, but there was a silver lining, right, to take out of that loss. And hey, we still got plenty of football left ahead of us. Then we come back home, we take care of business against Auburn, look great in the first half against Mississippi State. So 3 strong quarters of play following the Alabama loss. And you think, okay, all right, are we turning the corner here? But then we look like garbage coming out after halftime against Mississippi State. Second half, we were letting them light us up through the air. We were not sharp offensively. And then after that game, we win by 10 points, but the fan base, a lot of you guys out there, we're in full-on panic mode because next week we got Texas. We're going to Austin, and this is what we let Mississippi State do to us in the second half. We got no chance. That was the mindset, and most of the Bulldog fan base was, we got no chance going to Texas. But then we shock maybe some of our own fans. We go into Austin and not only beat Texas, we deliver a beatdown of sorts. Beat them by 2 touchdowns in primetime in their own stadium. So we come out of that game feeling really good about ourselves. Well, then comes Florida, a team that nobody thinks is going to give us any issues. Now, I sat here on the show and told you guys, hey, offensively, they do some things that have given us trouble all year long. Defensively, I don't love the matchup. Now, we should be able to do whatever we want with that Florida defense, but defensively, we might have our hands full with some things that Florida's able to do. And then DJ Lagway goes down, and we're fine. But no, they still are able to have some success running the football, which is not a good look. And that game was just far too close for comfort. People were frustrated. I was frustrated. But then you look at the big picture and you say, all right, you know what? We actually played pretty well outside of Carson Beck losing his mind in that game. And so you're talking to yourself and thinking, it's all right, man. It's just one of those things. It's their Super Bowl, and we got Ole Miss and Tennessee coming up after this. We're fine, right? And then Ole Miss happens. Last week happened. And there's no getting around it, guys. Talked about it on the podcast on Monday, a little bit on Tuesday. We just got whipped. There's no getting around that. That's what happened. Yeah, Alabama, I came on here and Alabama fans ripped me apart. That's fine. I expected that. And because my take after the Bama game was they won. They deserved to win. They played a cleaner game, more disciplined game. They were the better team. They deserved to win that game. However, I also felt and still feel like we largely self-destructed in that game. I think you make a strong argument that we kind of beat ourselves. It wasn't so much what Bama was doing to us, outmanning us, as it was us dropping passes and not getting checks line of scrimmage and missing tackles, poor eye discipline, all those things. You can say Alabama had something to do with the eye discipline, sure, that's fine. But in large part, we really kind of beat ourselves. Carson Beck just making some just highly questionable decisions that really had nothing to do with Alabama. But this was different. This is just a beating, man. I haven't seen Georgia get beat like that since probably 2017 at Auburn. 2019 LSU SEC title game, we got beat pretty bad there, but we also were not at full strength there. And we at least had some sort of fight in that game. We didn't really have much fight against Ole Miss. We really didn't threaten them at all outside that first drive of the game where we forced a turnover and then we punched it in for 7. After that, it was all downhill for there. So Ole Miss, we get straight up whipped, and reality hit hard. For anyone out there in the Georgia fan base that was still in some sort of denial over what this team is right now. Because the issues that this Georgia team has were laid bare for all to see. There's no more denying it for anyone out there that was denying it. So we all know there are issues that this Georgia team is dealing with. That's pretty universally agreed upon right now. We're all on the same page there, right? But where there is some disagreement is, what is the biggest issue that's holding Georgia back right now? That's where there seems to be some alternative theories, some disagreements within the Georgia fan base. The most popular answers all season have been A, Carson Beck, B, Mike Bobo. And that's still very much the case. You didn't hear as much about Carson Beck after the Ole Miss game because he threw 1 interception. That was a tip ball. But after the Florida game, 3 interceptions, right? Texas game, 3 interceptions. Alabama game, 3 interceptions. For the past couple of weeks, he's been the guy bearing the brunt of that. Now Mike Bobo is getting in on that action. And you throw in the wide receivers as well, which we now, as a pass-catching group, receivers, tight ends, running backs, if you want to throw them in there, lead the United States of America in drops. That's not good. We don't want to be atop that category. So all of those are issues for sure. I'm not here to tell you that any of you are necessarily wrong. Carson Beck has been an issue. Mike Bobo at times, I'm not as big of a Mike Bobo hater as a lot of people out there. I think he's good at what he does and running this system. My issue with Bobo is twofold. I think at times the personnel usage is abysmal. I think we have players that can make plays for us, and we don't always optimize what they can do for us and optimize the talent that we have to work with. That'd be a criticism. Play calling, I don't have as much of an issue, and I know I'm going to take heat for that because I always do, because some people out there are just convinced Mike Bobo is the worst play caller in the history of the world, although we did put up 500 yards a game last year. We're top 5 nationally in essentially every major offensive category statistically. But when you don't have Brock Bowers, you don't have McConkey, now you got to get creative in terms of how you're using guys. The personnel usage, I don't think has been great this year. I don't think that we're using I sort of say playmakers. I do think we have some playmakers, but I don't think that we're getting the ball into our best playmakers' hands in the best way to utilize their particular skill sets. So I would say that's part of it. And also, I just think that we need to run I think that systematically, there are some things that I think we need an offensive reset. That's what I said on the show earlier this week. What I mean by that is to get away from this traditional conception of what the Georgia offense has to be, what it has to look like, with like formationally, 12 personnel, all that. I think we need to spread the field a lot more. I never want to recruit any quarterback that's not a dual threat quarterback moving forward. You're playing with one arm tied behind your back moving forward. And Mike Bobo, I think he's good at what he does running this system, but I don't think this system is what we need to run moving forward. I think that we need to go after dual threat quarterbacks and really allow ourselves to take advantage of all of the innovations that have come through college football in recent years, and even the NFL now, but really through college football, and maximize all those advantages. If you're playing without a dual threat quarterback, it makes it harder on your entire offense, because now the running backs don't have as much room to operate because the defense doesn't have to pay attention to the quarterback as a run threat, right? The defense can get numbers in the box easier. The backside pursuit doesn't have anything to worry about. They can just crash from the backside because they don't have to worry about the quarterback pulling the football. If the offensive line is having issues, which we'll get to that in a minute, then you don't have anyone that can create and escape that pressure and make them pay. You have a guy that when he gets pressure, all he can do is either freak out and throw an interception like we see from Carson Beck, or just go into a shell, duck down for cover, and take a sack. That's essentially what we have right now. So I just don't think that we are taking advantage of all the benefits that come with the dual threat quarterback, and that's the direction that we need to go. I haven't done the math this week, but I know the first playoff rankings a week ago, I ran through the top 16 because that's where Ole Miss was the cutoff for me. By my calculation, 13 of the 16 teams that were in the top 16, the initial CFP rankings about a week and a half ago, I guess about a week ago now, had dual threat quarterbacks that can do things, can hurt you with their legs. There's no coincidence there. I think that we need to embrace that. And I just don't know if Mike Bobo is the guy for that because he's never run an offense that does those things. But anyway, Carson Beck, Mike Bobo, wide receivers, I think those are all issues, certainly, that have faced this Georgia football team. But in my opinion, none of those are the biggest issue for this Georgia team right now. For me, based on what I'm seeing, the single biggest issue for this Georgia football team right now, I'm not necessarily saying all year long, but certainly in recent weeks, has been the play of the offensive line. It's clear as day to me, guys. And I'm not telling you Carson Beck's been good. He hasn't. I'm not telling you Mike Bobo has been perfect, building game plans and calling plays. He hasn't. I'm not saying the wide receivers and tight ends have been good. They haven't. But to me, the offensive line is by far the bigger issue. I think we complicate football sometimes when you really boil it down to its most fundamental level. At its core, college football in general, is about blocking and tackling. If you can't block, you can't tackle, you can't win. And right now, Georgia cannot block a soul. And it's not a play here or there. It's a consistent theme, guys. When I first started to notice this, I'm like, all right, we got some injuries. It'll be fine. We'll be okay. But it hasn't gotten better. In fact, it's gotten progressively worse to where it got to the point where we bottomed out against Ole Miss. It was an absolute disaster, guys. It's consistent, these issues with the Georgia offensive line. You can kill Carson Beck all you want. He deserves a lot of that. I'm not going to argue with you. But what do you expect the quarterback to do when he's not a dual threat kind of athlete? What do you expect him to do when he's got pressure in his face? Now, he can throw the football away. Sure, against Florida, he should have done that. You can take a sack. Yeah, he should have done that against Florida more. Should not throw the ball into harm's way. That's poor decision making. But a lot of these poor decisions of late have been functions of pressure in his face. And not just pressure in terms of them bringing pressure and bringing blitzes, bring 5-6 guys, which is what I classify as an actual blitz. But guys, we're allowing teams to get pressure. Even Florida, who does not rush the passer well at all. That's what I said coming in the Ole Miss game. I'm like, hey, man, Florida got pressure consistently on Carson Beck, forced him into 3 picks. All 3 of those picks had pressure in his face to some degree. And Florida got pressure with 3 to 4 men consistently against our offensive line. What in the world is Ole Miss going to do with probably the best defensive line in the country? I was kind of freaked out coming into that game, and as we all saw it play out, yeah, for good reason, right? So kill him all you want, but what do you want him to do? If he's got pressure in his face with a 3 or 4 man rush, what that means for the defense is if you're only rushing 3 or 4, what are you doing? You're dropping 7 or 8. Where are the windows for Carson to fit balls into? They're not there. If you want to take your check down, well, the check down's not really there because they're able to drop 7 or 8 guys. They got everybody covered. That's tough. That makes it tough for your quarterback. So, again, I think that, certainly in recent weeks, comes down to the offensive line, especially the Florida game. Kill Bobo all you want. Some of that is fair. I think it's overplayed to a degree, but some of that is certainly fair. But in his defense, man, how do you call an offense? How do you build an offense when you can't block anyone? You can't block in the run game. You can't pass protect to save your freaking life. What do you do as an offensive coordinator? I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not. But what do you do? If you're calling plays, what do you do? Because we try a lot of different things, guys. A lot of different things. And none of them are working when you can't block anyone. But look, I don't expect you to just sit there and take my word for it just because Tyler's telling you so. So let's go to the tape where I can show you why the offensive line is the single biggest issue for this Georgia football team right now. All right, guys, I know that on the film session video a week ago, I ran through all 11 of Carson Beck's interceptions leading into this game against Ole Miss. So some of you, if you watched that episode, you watched that video, you've already seen this, but I do want to go back for anyone who missed it and just start with this Florida game in breaking down the offensive line issues, because all 3 of Carson Beck's interceptions against Florida were traced back directly to pressure in his face. Some form of pressure in his face. They were all with 3 or 4 man rushing. Now, Carson Beck's got to make better decisions. He's got to throw the ball away, eat the football, take the sack, or take the check down. But he was forced into those decisions and got flustered because of pressure in his face. The offensive line was allowing pressure with 3 or 4 man rushes. So let's just let him roll here. And I will just let the film do its own talking here. Man rush there. Watch it again. End zone angle. Simple 4-man rush. Now, this is not egregious pressure, but it's enough pressure to force Carson off his spot. And Carson Beck's not a guy that does much at all when he's forced off his spot. It's kind of a disaster usually when he's forced off his spot. It's only an adventure. Here you go again. 3-4-man rush. I think it's a 4-man rush on this one. Yeah, they drop one, bring in linebackers to a 4-man rush. Can't step into the throw. He feels the pressure at his feet. Unacceptable decision. Of course, I'm not completely absolving Carson Beck. That's a horrific decision. But the dude's got pressure, and he panics. That's Monroe Freeling there. That's what I'm talking about. Tackles being the biggest issue. Tackles are the biggest issue right now, guys. We have been bad at tackle all year long, and we try to throw Monroe Freeling in there. He's a talented guy. Will be good at some point, I think. Hopefully, he's still young in his development. But just getting whipped inside, man. And yeah, Carson made a bad decision, but that's pressure in his face. Once again, here they're showing 5. They're not going to bring 5. Throwing 6 now. Bringing 4. Unblocked. That's Dylan Fairchild. You'll see this against Ole Miss. Just completely turning this guy loose. No idea who he's supposed to block here. All right, now let's get to Ole Miss. And this is where it got egregious, man. The offensive line's had issues really all year long, progressively more so as the season's gone on. But Ole Miss, it came to a head, man. It was just abysmal play by the offensive line. And it starts in the first drive. Now, we score a touchdown this drive, so, hey, we can all forget about it. But, hey, no, because this is going to be something that's going to carry on throughout the rest of the game. And this is the second down play where we try to run this little misdirection counter to Cash Jones. And it probably would have worked, but it doesn't matter how well you dial up a play. Again, to my point, Mike Bobo, say what you want about him. I think this play is going to hit, but you can't really call plays if your offensive line is just getting blown up, which is what's going to happen to Ernest Green right here. He gets blown up. He basically gets blown up into the pullers, and that completely blows up the play. He's just going to get dominated here. And that forces Cash outside. Cash has to go outside now. This play is designed to go right up in here. It looks like maybe we have a little room to get something. Certainly not a 2 or 3 yard loss, but Cash is now forced to bend outside because Ernest Green gets pushed 2.5, 3 yards in the backfield. So he's got to bust outside. His pullers are now in here. He's got no protection out there, and now he's just going to get swallowed up for 2 or 3 yard loss. No chance. No chance. What are you supposed to do as a play caller, man? All right, now this is a duo play. And if you guys aren't familiar with duo, I don't want to break the whole play down. It's pretty simple. It's just double teams. And watch Dylan Fairchild, left guard. Doesn't block anybody. Okay? So he's right here. Here's Dylan Fairchild. All right, he's going to come off initially, and he's going to block, I believe it's this guy right here. All right, that's fine. That's fine. If you want to block him, that's okay. But I think his job here on the duo is to work up to the inside linebacker, right? Well, he starts to block the defensive tackle, but then turns him loose really quickly. And that's fine if you want to turn him loose, I guess, if you go pick up, get to the second level, and block the linebacker. If you rub off and go to the linebacker. But he doesn't. He just kind of stands there and watches and turns both guys loose, and the result is very predictable. This is just straight up a dude not executing. You can say he doesn't know what to do, but it's just not executing, man. It's like, yeah, he gets initial push off the ball. Nice. Like, continue that would be great. And if you're going to come off of it, get the freaking linebacker. But no, you kind of just stand there. This one, I have no words. I've watched this play probably 150 times since this game. And I still can't quite figure out what we're trying to run here. There's just no play in the playbook that looks like this. At first glance, like, is it a screen? But no, they're not really releasing downfield to block a screen. Because if we were blocking screen here, unless it's a middle screen, which we don't really have much in our arsenal, if you're screen and you're releasing downfield, you're releasing this direction, right? Or that direction. You're releasing to the perimeter. You're not just going to like stand there. And it's weird because they all kind of like turn their bodies, but they're not blocking anybody. So they all kind of turn and they're all looking this direction. Like they're trying to basically seal the inside here and maybe run something here, but they're standing there just looking at people, not blocking anyone. I'm at a loss for words. Inexplicably. You've got how many here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive linemen blocking nobody. We got a little bit of an effort. I think this is Ernest Green out here. A little bit of effort trying to block this guy, but 4 dudes not blocking a freaking soul. And poor Cash Jones, I mean, he just gets swallowed up here. Again, like, as a play caller, if you're Mike Bobo, what do you do when your offensive line does that? What plays do you call? I don't know, man. Not much. Oh, this is bad too. This is okay. So now we've moved Xavier Truss inside because he's played some guard for us in the past, right? So now we got Monroe Freeling right here. We got Truss playing right guard. Michael Morris is banged up. Tate Ratledge at this point. I think he'll give up a sack here later on in just a minute. But he's not healthy. He didn't practice all last week. Truss is trying to work up to the second level. He's trying. It's just lack of coordination, man. I mean, he just falls flat on his face. And the guy that he's supposed to be working up to the second level, the linebacker, makes the play on the ball. Watch him here. Whoop, there he goes. He's down. And this dude right here making the tackle is the man he was supposed to block. And now you got Xavier Truss, your 6th-year senior, super senior, laying here on the ground. What are you supposed to do as a play caller? What are you supposed to do as a running back? So now we've got Monroe Freeling in here. Once again, this time at right tackle, straight up speed rush. Now, there's no sack there. She's like, Tyler, what are you talking about? Well, he gets beat, right? Now, Carson does a good job of stepping up out away from the pressure, but make no mistake about it, Freeling's beat here. He is beat here. And this actually is a problem because if Carson doesn't get forced out of the pocket, so this is 3rd and 4. So we're only down 3 points here. So the first quarter, we're still very much in this game within striking distance. This game has not gotten away from us yet. If Carson is allowed to stand here in the pocket unmolested and doesn't have to step up and slide to the boundary, well, you've got the guy he's eventually going to throw it to right here. You got London Humphreys coming across the field. He's going to be open. I was in the game, guys. I'm telling you, he was open. I remember this play specifically. He was open right here early. But Carson can't throw it early because he's getting pressure because Monroe Freeling can't block anybody on a speed rush. Now Carson has to step up and slide out of pressure. And by the time he comes back to London Humphreys, London's over here, and there's a cornerback that's sitting there in zone coverage, and he's just going to come up and break on the football and blow up Humphreys, and the result's a drop. And now we got to punt the football. So yeah, even though he gets sacked, it still blew up the play. Here's Monroe Freeling again. This time, left tackle. And this is him just not knowing what to do. Now, again, similar situation. He doesn't get sacked. Carson doesn't get sacked here. But that's a big play waiting to happen. Again, we're still in this game. Second quarter now. We held him to a field goal. Defense did his job there, held him to a field goal. We're down 6 points. We're on the 50-yard line. We're driving here. We got a nice little drive going. We're going to get some points here, right? Well, we dial up a nice play. So you Mike Bobo haters, I'm not saying you're completely wrong, but we dial up a play here, all right? And this is a play that we've had a lot of success with this year. You're going to have just Arian Smith coming the dig route. And that play's there. That's a throw Carson makes very, very well. He throws that ball very, very well. He's lethal on that route, but he doesn't have time. He's rushed, and he also gets kind of hit there at the end when he's trying to come through his follow-through, and the result is he's hit and affected just enough, the ball falls just short of Arian Smith. And that, again, is because of the pressure that Monroe Freeling allows from the left side of the line of scrimmage, on his blind side. Not a sack, but still keeps us from points. Because if we complete this ball, we're going to get a field goal at least. Maybe a touchdown. Maybe the game turns out differently. But no, not to be. And this is where we realize early in the second quarter, Tate Ratledge is dead. It's not his fault, man. He's out there. Give the guy credit. He didn't practice at all last week. And he's just not ready to come back. He's doing all he can for the team. But, I mean, this is not Tate Ratledge. I mean, come on. We know he's better than that. But Jared Ivey, they move. And give Ole Miss credit defensively. Another way they outcoached us. We got Tate Ratledge out there who's basically on one leg. And they slide Jared Ivey, who's an edge player, good passer. They slide him inside on the guard. And Tate's got no chance. And the result this time is actually a sack. All right, 3-man rush. Oh, my God. Again, no sack, but you can't get the ball to anybody. 3-man rush. And not only we only one guy through, all 3 guys that we're trying to block get pressured. All 3 of them. What are you supposed to do? I know it's 3rd and 18, but what are you supposed to do as a play caller? All right, still in the second quarter. Man, and we're trying to run some gap scheme stuff here. But you can't run any gap scheme runs when your offensive line on the play side gets blown back into the pullers once again. Where do you go? Nowhere. This is freakish by Nate Frazier. I mean, this is 100% all him. I mean, to get 6-7 yards there, I mean, guys, this play's blown up 4 yards in the backfield. But this dude's just different. And this is why he's got to carry the football a lot more for us. He's got to be one of the guys that we just feature in this offense because he will deliver. Even if the offensive line can't block. Now, he can actually break off some bigger chunks of runs if they'd actually help him out a little bit, I don't know, do what they're supposed to do, but what an effort by Nate Frazier. Offensive line, fail. All right, here we're running duo again. Duo is double teams, okay? It looks like inside zone, but it's duo because you're getting double teams. And we're trying to double team here. We've once again moved Xavier Truss inside to guard. We've got Monroe Freeling at right tackle. So here's Freeling. Here is Truss. So they are going to work this guy right here. Going to double team him initially. And then they're going to work up Truss or one of the guys. One of them has to. Now, really, probably it should be Freeling here rubbing up to the inside linebacker. But somebody, one of them has got to rub up to the inside linebacker. It doesn't happen here. They both just stick on the, I think this is Jared Ivey on the end there. And no one blocks this guy right there, the inside linebacker. And yeah, he's running free. And when he runs free, he's going to make a play on the ball carrier. That's just lack of execution. I don't even want to say not knowing what to do because you know what to do there. You're just not executing. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. Now, part of that is, okay, Truss hasn't played a lot of guard this season. And when you have Ratledge injured, the miscommunication becomes more of an issue, especially when you're on the road. You get the crowd noise. Still, in the second quarter, this one is right after a drop. Okay, so drops are an issue. This is man, like the defense did his job, holding them to a field goal. We're down 17-6 or 16-7 here, and we got a shot right before the half to cut this game potentially to a 2-point game. Maybe it's 6 points to get a field goal here, but with the ball to start the second half. We dial up a nice play to Benjamin Urosik. Again, Mike Bobo haters, it's a great play call. It was there. Urosik drops it. It is what it is. That's an issue too. But then on the very next play, it's still 3rd and 6. On the next play, you got the offensive line just can't block anybody. Rearing its ugly head yet again. This time it's Ernest Green just getting whipped by Princely Umanmielen. Whipped. Now we're in the second half. Now this one, not as bad because we got some positive yards here, but there are more yards to be had here, man. Just block your dudes. Ernest Green right here is not blocking anybody. Look, he's turning Walter Nolan, their best defensive lineman. He's just turning this guy loose. He's gonna touch him and then just run to the second level and not block anybody. Just kind of stand there, turn around, and look. So yeah, we get a first down on 2nd and 1, cool. But this might have been a play that could have leaked out for a big 20+ yard run. You get the first down, so no one really cares that much. But that could have been a bigger play if the offensive line does its job. This is awful. I mean, Dylan Fairchild, man. I like Dylan Fairchild. He's a tough dude. Played really well for us last year. He's been fine at times this year, but he hasn't taken a step forward. So we're pulling him for the express purpose of protecting Carson Beck to the boundary. Well, he doesn't block anybody. He just completely whiffs. So we're going to pull him. Here he is. He's pulled right here. He's got to block this man who's coming here, and he just lets him slide right underneath him. And now Carson cannot get the ball off with any kind of accuracy. He's just going to throw the ball away. Now we're in the firework fog. I mean, this is yet again. So this is Etienne instead of Frazier. But look at Drew Bobo. Now we're like, all right, man. Well, we tried the combo of Truss inside at right guard, and Freeling at right tackle. That ain't working. I've already showed you guys that. That's not working. So I don't know. Let's try Drew Bobo. Let's put him out there at right guard, even though he's really our third string center. Let's just see. I'll give him credit for at least trying something different. I'll give him credit there. But I mean, he just looks at the guy. He just straight looks at him and says, all right, man, Ole, do your thing. And thank God that we have good running backs who can actually create when there's nothing there to be made. But you don't want to be in this situation against Tennessee because we're not going to win the game. This is the problem again. Just letting him slide right by, man. It's Jared Ivey, who's one of the best defensive linemen in the league. And just overextending. But, man, look at Etienne just fight. Not much, 2 yards. That should have been a 3-4 yard loss. Here's a great angle of this. He just slides right inside. Whoop! Man. If you're an OC, what do? It's just all you can do is laugh. It's so bad. All you can do is laugh, guys. Like I'm hurting inside watching it, but I mean, God. Oh, Truss, what are we doing? Like that's pathetic. Watch it. This, I mean, I'm just gonna be real, guys. That's pathetic. These are guys who are getting paid now. It's NIL era, so like I don't have any qualms calling you out when you play like this. That's pathetic effort from a 6th-year senior. You're not even like that's quitting. You're down 22-10 here in the fourth quarter. We still got a chance. You should have quit, man. That is absolutely pathetic effort by Xavier Truss. Watch this. I mean, come on, man. Jesus. No. That ain't it. You think at some point we run out of clips, right? Nope. This one. Let's go back more. So now we got Monroe Freeling at left tackle. It's like Ernest Green's been getting whipped, right? At left tackle. All right, well, let's try Monroe Freeling over here at left tackle. Let's see if it works any better. Nah. No. And it's what concerns me moving forward, guys. Like, where are the answers? Because we're trying things and it's not working. Injuries are our problem. Okay, with Freeling, you blew it, so we're gonna put Ernest Green back in, but this time we're gonna align a tight end right outside of Ernest Green, right? We're gonna put Osterdup right here. We're gonna give him some help, all right? Ernest clearly can't handle it on his own right now, so we're gonna give him some help, but it doesn't matter. Even with Osterdup there, still Suntrine Perkins blows right by both of them. I know I keep saying it, but as an OC, what do you do there? You're trying to make adjustments. It's not working as they can't block anyone. And this is even Carson Beck, the creator? Where'd this come from? But I mean, he's forced into this, forced off his spot because Monroe Freeling, now we got Monroe Freeling back at right tackle because the piss poor effort by Xavier Truss, right? Now, all right, well, let's throw Freeling back in there. Now Suntrine Perkins, who is, to his credit, a really dangerous pass rusher. And speed rushers give us issues, and he is a speed rusher extraordinaire, kind of like James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, which, hey, that's a concern. But, I mean, you gotta at least give a better effort than this, man. And how many times is Monroe Freeling going to get beat inside? I mean, if I'm a defensive lineman and I'm lined up against him, I'm saying if I see Freeland, I'm like, all right, inside move. I'll tell him inside move because he can't stop it. Whew, man. Yeah, we're still not done yet, guys. Yeah, a lot of clips. For good measure, down 15. We got Ernest Green once again. Now we're like, well, we'll just let him go out there. We're down 15. We got to put guys out in routes. We got to protect now because now we're trying to protect Freeling, right? Because we just saw Freeling get beat. So now we're going to put Lawson Lucky here to protect Freeling at right tackle, but there's no one here to protect Ernest Green. So whoever's not getting protection is getting whipped. And Ernest Green, I mean, no chance. That's Princely Amon Mielen. I mean, his feet are in concrete, guys. See what I'm talking about? He's a guard. He's a guard. He is a guard. He's not a tackle. And it's not his fault he's being forced to play out of position, but he's who we're throwing out there right now, and it ain't good enough. It just is not good enough. All right, guys, so there you go. It's plain to see. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not exaggerating. Like, how many plays did we run through right there? A lot of football plays. I try to go through as fast as I could, but there's a lot of plays. And that's to my point. It's not just here or there. It's a consistent theme, guys. Almost play in, play out. Certainly drive in, drive out. That's what we're facing right now. Now, there's some context to these issues. Injuries, let's be fair, have been an issue. But beyond that, guys, I mean, the reality is we have two guards that are playing tackles right now. I think Xavier Truss is more of a guard than he is a tackle. Truss is what he is, man. He's a good piece to have. Is he really a starting caliber guy in the SEC? I mean, he has been, but should he be? Questionable. That's questionable. Ernest Green, I think, is more of a guard than he is a tackle. He's also been banged up too, just to put that out there. Behind the scenes, Ernest Green's been banged up at practice, hasn't been practicing a ton, so you can see he's got a little heavier. He's not in great shape right now, and part of that's because he's not really practicing much. So injuries hurt there, but both those guys are really guards, so you factor that in as well. And then like your best tackle, the guys that have the highest ceiling at tackle, that are true tackles on this roster, unfortunately, they're all freshmen. They're going to be really good. Like Jazar Jackson, I can't wait to see what that guy does. I mean, he's dwarfing like 6'7" dudes out there. So I can't wait to see what these guys can do once they figure out a play. But they're not ready, man. They're freshmen. They are not ready. And that's why we're in this situation that we're in. Really have ready right now to play tackle are two guards and Monroe Freeling, who's really a tackle, but man, he's done well at times. I liked what I saw from him in the Clemson game, but he hasn't really taken that step forward this year in year two. Still a young guy, but I mean, you saw that in the clips there. He was getting whipped against Ole Miss. So that combined with your one true stud, your All-American guard in Tate Ratledge being out for most of the season, certainly in all these big games that we've played. He was out against Alabama, out against Texas. He played against Ole Miss, opened the game, but it was very clear early on that, I mean, he couldn't go. You saw he couldn't play. We didn't practice all last week, so he comes off the field, and now you got Xavier Truss and Drew Bobo, who's like the third string center. Now he's playing some guard because Micah Morris is out. That's another injury. So injuries have been an issue. There's some context there, sure, but man, it's almost comical how bad Georgia's offensive line was against Ole Miss. If I didn't care as much as I did, if I wasn't as invested as I was, if I was just some neutral fan watching that game, I'd be laughing at that offensive line play because it was that bad. But the thing is, we've seen this offensive line play well at times. Not much recently. It's not been many bright spots recently, but we have seen them at times play well this season. So moving forward, we got to get to the point where we feel better about what this offensive line can do. Now, is that a matter of health? Is it moving some guys around, shuffling some players around? I don't know the answer. And to be quite honest with you guys, I'm not sure if there is an answer. I don't know what the answer is because I'm not paid millions of dollars to figure that out. And I'm not sure if there is an answer because you look at guys with the injuries, I don't know. Like, we don't have guys that are ready to play tackle. Like, we have true tackles on the roster, but they're not ready. So do you just throw them in there, throw them in the fire? Probably not going to be much better. Probably not. Then you have the guards, Tate Ratledge, he's still banged up. I don't know if he'll ever be fully healthy the rest of the year. And then the younger guards, Micah Morris, who's also banged up. And then Dylan Fairchild, I thought it was really good for us last year in his first year, like really actually playing for us meaningful snaps. He hasn't taken a step forward. And Jared Wilson's been banged up, so he hasn't really kind of gotten to the rhythm up front. He's been fine at times. So I just don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. But if our coaches cannot get together, Kirby Smart and company, if they cannot get together and figure this out, I'm just telling you, man, you probably don't need me to tell you, but I'll tell you anyway. We have zero chance to beat Tennessee. We have zero chance of making it to the college football playoff, and certainly have zero chance of winning a national title. Because it doesn't matter how poor your offensive coordinator is in your opinion, or how badly you think your quarterback's playing. If you can't block, you can't do anything on offense. And unfortunately, right now, Georgia simply cannot block a soul. Hopefully that changes against Tennessee. They have a really good defensive front, so I'm skeptical. I need to see it to believe it, but some way, somehow, we got to dig deep and find an answer. These guys got to raise their level of play. We've got to fix the communication issues. I don't know what it is. We got to figure it out. Maybe playing at home without the crowd noise offensively will help. But if we don't figure it out, then we got no chance to do anything the rest of this season. All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. I greatly appreciate it. Again, make sure to subscribe to this channel right now if you enjoy this kind of content designed for you guys, those diehard Georgia fans out there, and check out the Glory UGA podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, for a lot more coverage. 4 episodes a week during the college football season. You don't want to miss any of that. But thank you, guys. I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs.
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.